Today we're going to be factoring polynomials, and we're only looking at polynomials where the a value is 1. I had divided my screen here into 4 boxes to show you 4 main categories depending on the signs. So let's go ahead and start with the first one. I just want to make sure. There we go. All right. So for the first category, I have plus plus. The last sign, if the last sign is positive, that tells me that I have 2 of the same sign. 2 of same. And because the first sign is positive, that tells me that both are positives. Both positives. So when you start putting your parentheses, you want the sign to be both the same and both positives, according to what I see here. Then, of course, in order for you to get the x squared, it should be x and x. Then, in order for you to find the other 2 numbers, I'm reminding you, according to the previous video, you need to find numbers that give you a product of 2 and a sum of 3. So the only way to get a product of 2 is 2 and 1. And if you add those 2 numbers, you're going to get a 3. So it's 2 and 1 or 1 and 2. And it doesn't matter where you put them because they're both positives. Now, to verify that you're correct, you can do FOIL, and you're going to get the trinomial that you started with. So that is case 1 when they're both the same and they're both positives. Let's go ahead and take care of these extra examples. So I'm going to set up my parentheses. Both the same, both positives. I need product to be 16. How can I get 16? It's either 1 times 16 or 2 times 8 or 4 times 4. Which of those combinations will give me a sum of 10? 1 plus 16 is not 10. 2 plus 8 is 10. That's what I want. They're both positive, so it doesn't matter which one I put first. Again, you can check by doing FOIL to make sure that you are correct. Both the same, both positives. Set up your parentheses. I need product to be 48. 224. What else? 3 times 16 and so on. 1 times 48. Which of those will give you, adding those 2 numbers to get 14? This is the only one. 6 plus 8. So there we go. So that is the first category where you have both the same, both positives. Let's go to the second category. I have, this is telling me, I don't want it to be so thick. There we go. This is telling me that they're both the same. But now this is telling me that they're both negatives. Both negatives. So I'm going to set up my parentheses. X minus and X minus. I want the sum to be 2. I'm sorry, the product to be 2. So the only way to get a product of 2 is 2 times 1. And they're both negatives. And negative 2 plus negative 1 is negative 3. So because they're both negatives, it doesn't matter which one you put first. Do FOIL to verify that you are correct. My example here, number 1, both the same, both negatives. Now you need to be careful here. This is a little bit tricky because you have an x, y, and a y. So you have this term, besides of the number part, it has to have a y also. So let's go to the number part. How can you get 24? 4 times 6, 3 times 8, 1 times 24. Which of those will give you the sum to be 10? This. So you want one to be 4 and the other to be, they're both negatives. So it doesn't matter which one you put first. They're going to have a y each. Number 2, both the same, both negatives. They will have a y each, but let's think about the number part. How can you get a product of 6? 1 times 6 or 2 times 3? Which one of those, if you add the numbers, you will get, I mean, it's 5, but it would be negative 5 because they're both going to be negatives. This. If you go this, you're not going to get the sum that you wanted, the sum. So you have to go with these. It would be 2y and 3y. So this is the second category where the signs are both the same, but they're both negatives. Let's go to our third category. This is telling you you have one of each. Just one of each. One of each, which means one is a positive, one is a negative. All right, now, all right, can we get rid of this? This is telling you they're both the same. I'm sorry, this is telling you one of each, and this is telling you because it's plus, the biggest is the positive. The biggest is positive. So go ahead and put one of each. It doesn't matter which one you put first. It doesn't really matter. And let's think about the numbers. I need product of 72. So forget the sign right now. How can I get a product of 72? And so on. I need the sum to be positive 1. Okay, so remember, 1 is positive, 1 is negative. How can you get a sum of positive 1? Right here. If 1 is negative, 1 is positive, the sum would be positive 1. So you want the biggest to be the positive. So the positive has to go here, and the negative has to go there. Number 1 example, opposite signs, the biggest is the positive. It doesn't matter which one you put first. I need product of 8 and sum of 7. 2, 4, 1, 8. And they're opposite signs. Which one of those combinations will get you to positive 7? This. The biggest has to be the positive. So there's your 8 and there's your 1. Opposite signs, the biggest is the positive. How can you get 2? 1 times 2. The biggest is the positive, so the 2 has to go here. So that is the third category where you have opposite signs, but the biggest of the 2 is your positive. Finally, let's go to this category. I'm just going to grab another marker. That is telling you again one of each. But now the biggest is your negative. Negative, biggest. So set up your parentheses. Put one of each. It doesn't matter which one you put first. How can you get 30? 5 times 6, 3 times 10, 1 times 30. Which one of those will give you a negative 1? Opposite signs, right? That's the only way that you get a negative 1. The biggest is your negative. 6 has to go here, 5 has to go there. Opposite signs, the biggest is the negative. 16, 2 times 8, 1 times 16, 4 times 4. Which one of those will give you that negative 6? That's the only one. The biggest is your negative, so you want negative 8 and positive 2. People, you need to be careful. It's very important for you to put the correct number with the correct sign in this case, because if you put them the opposite way, you're not going to get negative 6. You're going to get positive 6, which is not what you want. So be very careful how you put your numbers. Opposite signs, the biggest is the negative. How can you get 9? 1 times 9, 3 times 3. Which of those, I know it's opposite signs, will get you to negative 8? This is the only one. The biggest is the negative, so the 9 has to be negative, and the 1 is positive. And there you have the 4 cases, and anything that you're given where A is 1 belongs in one of those 4 cases.